It is May 25th, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today we're talking the Eastern Conference Finals, the Bruins elimination, some Patriots insights, and more. Stay tuned. So the Celtics are up 2-0 against the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is great. And so far, this series has been the most interesting part of the playoffs. I mean, Game 1 was an overtime thriller. Jaylen Brown had that great three-point shot that took us to overtime. It's been exciting, and I've really appreciated that it's been more competitive, at least in Game 1. In Game 1, Tatum had 36 points and 12 rebounds, only 4 assists. That's a pretty solid game, in my opinion. Some nice offensive production. Jaylen Brown had 26 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. Al Horford had 15 points, 1 assist, 6 rebounds. He was taking a lot of three-point shots. That was hard to watch because he missed, I believe, all of them. That wasn't good, but we won, so that's what matters. Drew Holiday had 28 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds. And Derek White had 15 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. Game 2 was a pretty comfortable win on Thursday night. It was 126-110. Tatum had 23 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. Jaylen Brown had a whopping 40 points, as well as 2 assists and 5 rebounds. Horford just had 6 points, no assists, 10 rebounds. Drew Holiday had 15 points, 10 assists, and 3 rebounds. And Derek White had 23 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. So that was a more comfortable win, like I said. And Game 3 is tonight, meaning Saturday, at 7:30 p.m. Central in Indiana. I think it's quite possible we get a series win in 4 or 5 games. I just don't believe the Pacers have what it takes to take this Celtics team to 6 or 7 games. And that's okay. We had one competitive game, and now we can just get the series win, I hope. As I record this, the Dallas Mavericks are up 1-0 against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. Now, personally, I would like to face the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals because I would like some revenge on Kyrie Irving. I remember back when we traded for him in 2017, and he acted like he'd re-sign with Boston. He was going to be our star player, and then in the 2019 offseason, he left. And, that was a bummer. I really was upset by that, and I've not been a fan since then. Now, what made matters worse with that offseason departure is that he had appeared on a billboard for Nike on Beacon Street in Boston that had a picture of him in high school and a picture of him with the Celtics. And the high school picture said once a Celtic, and then the Celtics picture said always a Celtic. And that's because his high school team was also called the Celtics. And something about that just seems so dishonest and gross, to act like, oh, I'm always going to be a Celtic, this is my team now. And then just to leave us high and dry is really a shame. And frankly, I don't think I'm the only one sick of Kyrie Irving. I think many people would agree that the NBA has moved on from Kyrie Irving. He was a Cavalier, he was impressive. He went to Boston, he was still impressive. And then he went to the Brooklyn Nets and teamed up with Kevin Durant and James Harden. And their so-called super team totally flopped. It did not last. And now no one cares. It's just like, okay, yeah, Kyrie's talented, but no one likes him anymore. He's not going to win another championship, His first championship was really LeBron's homecoming ring, not his ring. So yeah, all that to say, my preferred opponent in the NBA Finals would be Dallas, but I'm confident the Celtics can beat both Dallas and Minnesota. Whoever they have to play, they'll take care of. But for now, our target is Indiana, so let's focus on that. Let's get this series win and move on to the finals. Now, some possible good news for the Celtics is that Kristaps Porzingis might be back by Game 4 on Monday. And it'll be nice to have him back. He'll take the pressure off Al Horford, who can go back to the bench and not be a starter and stay rested. And he'll be a weapon that Indiana has not had to contend with. So I think it'll be good, especially if we have to play more than 4 games. He'll be a guy to come in and then help us out, bring some fresh energy from the injured list. So I hope that goes according to plan. I hope Kristaps is back. I miss him. And I hope that when he returns, he is back with a vengeance. Moving on, there is an update on the NBA TV rights battle that I talked about a few weeks ago. Sports Business Journal is reporting that the NBA is finalizing deals with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon for broadcasting rights in this next cycle. Now, under this deal that is being reported, ESPN would get the A package of games for $2.8 billion, which includes the NBA Finals, a conference final, weekly primetime games, the WNBA, and likely shared international rights. NBC would get the B package of games, thought to be worth $2.6 billion. This would likely include a Basketball Night in America type show on Sunday nights after the NFL season ends. It will also include a total of 2 primetime windows per week, conference semifinals, and a conference final. Amazon's package is reported to be worth $1.8 to $2 billion and would likely include the in-season tournament, the play-in tournament, first-round playoff games, the WNBA, and international rights. Now, the big story is that it would leave out TNT and end their iconic studio show inside the NBA. Now, it's being reported that TNT's parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery, might take legal action over the final stages of this negotiation. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. Now, for one thing, it's very sad that Inside the NBA would end if the rights are indeed handed out this way. Inside the NBA is awesome. I love seeing Chuck and Shaq before games, at halftime, and after games. Talking about basketball, of course, and also just generally BSing around. It's fun. It's really what sports broadcasting should be, I think. Now, I do think there's a shot that at least some of this Inside the NBA crew could be hired by ESPN, NBC, or Amazon. They have the money for it. They know there's appeal there, so I have some hope that Inside the NBA could be at least partially recreated. If they do this, I hope they also bring on the crew. For one thing, it would be sad to see people lose their jobs after so many years, but also they add to it. Their production choices are top-notch. They know how to do it in a way that other networks don't. Now, I'm also slightly less disappointed by the fact that ESPN and ABC are retaining the NBA Finals under this deal. I was hoping that NBC would nab the NBA Finals, but whatever, ESPN has the deep pockets. They can likely afford to maintain the A package of games. I mean, honestly, I prefer that NBC get ESPN's package under this deal, and that they would share the rights with their sister cable network, USA Network, and TNT would get the B package of games. But unfortunately, I think there have been mistakes made at both the NBA level and the Warner Brothers Discovery TNT level. So in the end, the consumer is losing in this, but I hope NBC makes a good product. I really do. It will also be very interesting to see how Amazon will broadcast these games, who they'll hire, what the production will look like. It's all very interesting, much like the Netflix Christmas NFL games. So, very interesting developments. I hope things work out as well as they can. I hope that the Inside the NBA people get to do what they do, even if it's with a different name and different network. We'll have to wait and see. Now, I want to briefly touch on the fact that last week the Boston Bruins were eliminated from the playoffs by the Florida Panthers in Game 6. And I have to be honest, it was painful. Like I said, I'm not a hockey expert. I don't follow the Bruins the way I follow the Patriots, Red Sox, and Celtics, but still, they're my team. I really enjoyed watching them in these playoffs, and I was sad to see them lose. I hope our offense can get better. I hope this offseason we make necessary adjustments. I really hope that this core group of players will win a championship in the coming years. So, despite everything, go Bruins. I will be following this team closer than I used to. So, I have hopes. I really do. Moving on to the Patriots, our quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, had some comments on the quarterback competition going on right now in Foxborough. He said, quote, "Honestly, everybody wants to be the guy. Everybody's competing to be the guy. That's what you want. If none of us wanted to play, then our room would be messed up." Unquote. That's good to hear, in my opinion. You know, even though we drafted Drake May, and obviously the goal with him is that he will be the starter one day, it still needs to be a competition. The starting position should not be handed to you unless you are a talented veteran who signed a big contract and, that's the expectation. Right now we have several guys who, in theory, could start. Now, I don't see Joe Milton III or Bailey Zappi starting, but Jacoby and Drake could both be Week 1 starters. It really depends who does the best during this training camp and during the preseason. So that competitive spirit is very important. As for Joe Milton III and Bailey Zappi, they're competing for the third string position in my mind. I said that a few weeks ago after the draft, and there are reports that the Patriots are expected to have 3 quarterbacks on the active roster. So that means either Joe Milton plays a different position or he or Bailey Zappi are cut. So we'll see where that goes. I think it'll be Bailey Zappi getting cut, but I'm not sure. Jacoby went on to say this to the media about Drake May. Quote, "He has a lot of talent. He can make all the throws. He wants to learn football. He wants to get better. That's what you want in not only your quarterback, but anybody on the team." Unquote. So obviously, Jacoby is not going to trash talk someone on his team, especially a newly drafted quarterback. That being said, I still think it's a positive insight to hear from a veteran who's been around several different teams, including the Patriots, in now 2 different stints. So I take this as a positive sign that things are going well already, and I hope things continue to go well. I hope there's healthy competition. I hope the right man emerges as starting quarterback for Week 1. Now, another room on the Patriots team that is very full is our wide receiver room. We have some veterans, we have a number of newly drafted rookies, so that will also be a very competitive position, which is very exciting. Obviously our offense last year was terrible, so having some options at wide receiver and some options at quarterback is a really exciting prospect for me. Now, head coach Gerard Mayo had this to say about the wide receiver room at OTA practice. He said to the media, quote, "It's a wide open competition. We have some young bulls, we have some older players. We have guys who are really unproven. So, this is an opportunity for them to really get a leg up going forward, especially when you don't have a guy like Kendrick Bourne out here during the spring. Guys will have opportunities." Unquote. I also take these comments as an early positive sign. I think competition is healthy, no matter what the position is, no matter who you're competing with. I think this will build a better offense, people who want to earn their spot, people who want to bring the flash back to the Patriots offense. So it's exciting. Like I said before, it's very exciting. And I think Coach Mayo knows what he's doing. He's not Bill Belichick. He never will be, but I think he has what it takes to be a very successful NFL coach. So I'm excited to see his plan come to fruition during the season. I want to move on and talk about the recent NFL team owners meeting this past week in Nashville, which is very close to where I live in Tennessee. Now, there are some interesting developments that I think are worth discussing. Now, for one thing, there was no vote on Tom Brady acquiring a stake in the Las Vegas Raiders, although Commissioner Goodell said a possible conflict of interest regarding this ownership would be Brady's access to Raiders' practice and training facilities and how it relates to his role as a Fox broadcaster. Now, I'm going to defend Tom here. Not that I like the Raiders. I've never been a Raiders fan, whether they played in Oakland or Vegas. They have never been my favorite team. And frankly, I would have preferred if Brady bought a stake in the Patriots or his hometown San Francisco 49ers, but those may not have been options to him. Now, regardless, it seems like Goodell and certain other team owners are enjoying wielding their power over Tom. You know, it's been over a year, or just about a year, since Tom has tried to acquire a stake in the Raiders, and it's still not gone through. It's taken a while. I think they're enjoying the power over him. Now, whatever they do, they cannot take away Tom's wins and his championships, so this is really nothing compared to that. Now, a source says his deal could be ratified in the coming months, but the fact there is a team owners meeting in person and no progress was really made tells me they're stretching this out as much as possible. But that's just my biased Patriots fan opinion. It might not be the truth, but it's how I feel right now. Now, one real issue that might have come up is the fact that Tom Brady's friend Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, might have offered him a discount on whatever stake he wanted to give to Tom. I completely understand why other NFL team owners would be against this, because it deflates the value of NFL teams if current owners can just say, well, he's my friend, he's a famous former NFL player, he should have a discount. It kind of turns NFL team values into nothing, you know. Oh, well, if you can just adjust for your friends, is your team really worth that much? So I get that, and it might be a little shady, but I understand why you don't want to blow that up for Tom Brady. I get that. Now, on a related note, owners also discussed amending rules to allow private equity firms, public corporations, and sovereign wealth funds to buy minority stakes in NFL teams. Part of the reason they're considering this is that the values of NFL teams are soaring higher and higher, and it's becoming harder for individuals or groups of individuals to buy teams. So by allowing this, you can raise money in a faster way, and perhaps you can raise some liquid cash for stadium improvements and new stadium construction. Now, I see the appeal there. I'm not sure if it's totally a good idea to bring in private equity firms to team ownership, but I do think that they should consider the ups and downs, because if it could mean less public money going into NFL stadiums, that could be a good thing. But again, there are a lot of potential ups and downs with this, so hopefully they make the right choice, because otherwise it could have really negative consequences for the NFL. Another development is that NFL team owners determined that the 2026 NFL Draft will be hosted in Pittsburgh. It's not that interesting, but it's a development. It'll be fun to see what Pittsburgh does to channel the Pennsylvania football tradition with their hosting of the NFL Draft. Now, there was no development out of the owners' meeting about this next interesting story, but Commissioner Goodell did have a press conference where he touched on another pretty big story, which is the possibility that the NFL season might expand from 17 games to 18 games. He had previously appeared on the Pat McAfee show and outlined what an 18-game regular season would look like. It would involve only 2 preseason games instead of the current 3. It would involve the Super Bowl being held on President's Day weekend. And during a press conference at the owners' meeting, Goodell talked more about this and stressed that the league would prioritize player safety and work closely with the Players Association on any schedule changes. He said that the quality of the game matters the most, and that reducing the preseason and expanding the regular season would improve the quality of the professional football game. Obviously, I'm in theory for this. I mean, if you can do it without exhausting players and, without spreading yourself too thin as a league, then it could be good. One more game, possibly one more bye week, could be good stuff, I'm a big NFL fan, obviously, so I'm in favor of this if they can do it right. Now, not directly related to the owners' meeting, but another development out of the National Football League is that Peter O'Reilly, the head of the NFL's International Affairs, said on Tuesday that the league is exploring Australia as a possible host for an international game in the coming seasons. Now, the NFL already announced an NFL Academy will open on the Gold Coast in Australia this September, and I think it's great. I think Australia is a great market to explore for the NFL. I really believe that Australians would take to American football. I think they have the proper enthusiasm needed to cheer on NFL teams. Another reason that Australia would be great to host an NFL game is that the NFL season takes place when it is spring and summer in Australia. So for all those reasons and more, I think the land down under would be a great place for the NFL to play some games and possibly have other expansions in the future. And now for a Red Sox update. Last weekend we lost a series to the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1, but the game we won was a big win. It was 11-3. We swept the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa this week, and of course a sweep is always good, especially when you're the away team and your opponent is a divisional rival, so that's all good. And this weekend we have a series against the Milwaukee Brewers in Boston. So hopefully we can win that series. I think we can. Like I said, we're pretty mediocre, so it could go either way. I hope it goes our way for this series, of course. Now, the big story this week is that third baseman Rafael Devers made Red Sox history. On Monday night against the Tampa Bay Rays, he hit a home run in his sixth consecutive game, breaking a team record once held by six others, including Ted Williams. The record goes as far back as 1940, when Jimmy Fox homered in 5 straight games. Now, this is really awesome. It's the excitement this middle-of-the-road season really needs. Devers has once again showed that he is worthy of being our franchise player and being a team leader. So yeah, it's really fun to have, really long-lasting team records broken, even though we're a mediocre team. And now, Assorted Awesome, the part of the show where I talk about something that is 100% awesome with no caveats. Before Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, newly drafted Patriots quarterback Drake May got to meet Jason Tatum and receive a signed jersey, and they also took a picture together. Afterwards, he sat courtside at the game and cheered on the Boston Celtics. Now, this is awesome for 2 reasons. One, it's great to see players from different Boston teams getting along and encouraging each other. That's fun. That's wholesome. 2, and most notably, Tatum went to Duke. Drake May is from the University of North Carolina, so the fact they got together and had a moment is special. So I'm really glad that Drake, Jason, and the Celtics made this happen, and I hope it's a sign of a new era of Boston sports dominance to come. That is all I have for this episode of Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. You can follow me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can follow the show at sports_chowder. You can like the show on Facebook and follow the show on Instagram at Sports Chowder. Thank you so much for listening. Your support means a lot to me. I will not be here next week. I will be out of town visiting family, and I won't have time to record a normal episode of Sports Chowder. I might do a mini episode midweek, But for now, I'll just say this. I'll return in 2 weeks with another delicious bowl of sports chowder.